I am not my past. I let my experiences shape who I am today. I can take the good or I can take the bad and transmute it into the good. And I always tell them I'm like this alchemist, right? You turn my pain into the power that I need today. So with my family dynamic, I feel like everything that I experienced growing up and watching my mom and seeing my aunts and everything, I really felt that, hey, this is time for me to be that generational cycle breaker. I want to be the one to be able to break this cycle of things that's going on in our family. And how do I do that? I do that by modeling it and taking control of my own life, right? And controlling the things I can't control and modeling that for my children.
More than 73% of Americans have overweight or obesity, while more than 12% have food insecurity. America is getting heavier, sicker, and more isolated from each other every day. Our motto, Move, Eat, Give, reflects our belief that virtually every problem in America could be fixed if we took better care of ourselves and took better care of each other. Welcome to Interrupt Hunger's Move, Eat, Give podcast, where we talk with experts in exercise as medicine, food as medicine, and food insecurity. And understanding that knowledge isn't always enough to help you lose weight. Every other episode showcases someone who's lost at least 10% body weight to share exactly how they did it. Interrupt Hunger is a 501c3 nonprofit which helps you lose weight while feeding the hungry. Bring our free 12-week weight loss challenge and donate your weight program to the places you live, work, and pray. We fund our mission with sales from our Move, Eat, Give bracelets and clothing, so please visit us at interrupthunger.org to show your support. 50 meals are donated for every item sold to the nation's largest hunger relief network. So you get to look good while feeling good. Now on to today's episode. Hey everyone, it's Jolly here with Interrupt Hunger's Move, Eat, Give podcast. Thanks for joining us today. I've got Jan Jackson with us today. Jan, you've got a fantastic story, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity.
You bet. You bet. I was just telling Jan, the people you come across in life that shine the brightest have really gone through just a lot of crap in their life sometimes. And the struggle to see what comes out the other side is just pretty amazing. And what I like to do is we'll start off by, I'll ask you to share as much as you want or not. This is your time about your family dynamics and work dynamics, because there's
Okay.
a listener out there that's going to be listening to you and say, "Oh my gosh, she is just like me, and if she can do it, I can do it." So tell us about your work and family life.
Thank you so much for that question. I really love how you talked about, people that have the one of the greatest stories, right? We've been through a lot, and I consider myself a silent warrior. I deal with things, and then hey, behind the scenes, but I'm always been a warrior. And so, just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and growing up, we grew up in what we would consider the projects, or people will call it quote unquote the ghetto. And so, growing up in some rough areas of Atlanta, I was I was exposed to a lot, and seeing a lot of things that my mom went through and some of the sacrifices she had to make because my father passed when I was 2 years old. My mom was a single mother at the age of 17, and by 19 she had three children. And so I am the oldest of three. My father had another son, so I do have a stepbrother. And then also what's surprising is that in my maternal side, my mother immediate family, there are 12 of us as far as grandchildren, and I am the oldest of all those grandchildren. So I think about the responsibility, and everybody talk about being the first daughter, right? You're the one that's helping out, and you go through all the things with your mom. And I feel like, I had to grow up a little fast. Me and my mom, really, we were about 15, 16 years apart. So, me being a teenager, 15 years old, my mom is 30. And so she was very young, but I can truly say that growing up, I've watched my mom experience a lot. She had her own battles, with drugs and everything, and in and out of different things because of her life happenings, and being out on her own at such a young age. And I just remember growing up, when we talk about that family dynamic and how we were raised and, the different experiences that my mom had, and she was doing the best that she knew how, right? Just based off of how she was raised and, trying to raise us. One thing she always did was ensure that we stayed in school and, we did the best with what we had. And when I thought about that family dynamic, oh my God, there was something that I thought of too growing up as it's going to relate to what we're talking about today. And I was like, I remember those days that, there were some nights we didn't have anything to eat. And we still made it happen some kind of way. And I remember growing up eating syrup sandwiches. Oh my God. That was like the best thing for us. Like, oh, we get to eat a syrup sandwich. We'll take that. And as a dessert, I'm like, well, I can't drink any juice or anything like that. I don't have any drink. So what we will make sugar water. Can you imagine growing up like that? And, it wasn't always bad times. We did have some good times growing up. I could truly say that. But just based off of that family dynamic, we have a small family and growing up in Atlanta, everybody's tight knit, in the area that I grew up in. And also I did stay connected with my dad's side. And there was a point in time in my life where, I was taken away from my mom and I was in the foster care system at the age of 11. And so after that, I had a family member that ended up taking me in. And so just learning different life lessons at such an early age exposed me to a lot, but I can truly say it gave me a lot of resiliency because I had to learn a lot of things early on and I was separated from my siblings for a while, growing up like that and living in a teen shelter at one point. And I'm still trying to deal, with the relationship with my mom and rebuilding because, again, she still had her own struggles. There was a lot that I did experience. Long story short, I was able to come out of the system after a while due to that family member. And I believe that everything happens for a reason because I always knew that, oh my goodness, like I have so much common sense, and that was later on down the line. I will never forget, I had an uncle tell me when I was young, he said, you have a lot of book sense, but no common sense. He said, you're smart, but you're dumb. So I was
Wow.
like, oh my God.
Wow.
How do you take that potential from a child? And so I knew I was always going to go places at such a young age. And I think now fast forwarding to that family dynamic, although I have lost a few family members, my mom passed in 2020 for stage 4 breast cancer, but she also dealt with different ailments such as diabetes and hypertension and different mental health illnesses as well. But I can truly say she was such a strong woman. And because I understood the things that she was going through, our relationship was so strong before she transitioned. And I'm very thankful, which is why I keep going. And this is why I'm also present for others and for my daughters. And I talked about that silent warrior. And I know a lot of people ask, like, hey, we did, like, what's your life like, And sometimes people don't know a lot about me because I don't really put it out there like that unless I want to. But even at work, I'm a military member. I deal with a lot at work and I'm working, I'm taking care of people, and I'm also trying to take care of myself. And being a single mom, here's my daughters, all right? My daughters are now 10 and 13. They have been my reason why. But I think of all the things that I go through, a lot of people don't know. They look at me and think automatically, oh, she has a good life. She has it all together. She's probably never been through many things in life. And when they hear my story, they're like, wow, you're one tough woman. And how do you do it? How do you have that poker face is what they call it. Because I always tell people I am not my past. I let my experiences shape who I am today. I can take the good or I can take the bad and transmute it into the good. And I always tell them I'm like this alchemist, right? You turn my pain into the power that I need today. So with my family dynamic, I feel like everything that I experienced growing up and watching my mom and seeing my aunts and everything, I really felt that, hey, this is time for me to be that generational cycle breaker. For my family dynamic moving forward, I want to be the one to be able to break this cycle of things that's going on in our family. And how do I do that? I do that by modeling it and taking control of my own life, right? And controlling the things I can control and modeling that for my children. And also inspiring my sister and my brother. We keep in contact. And so, that family dynamic, we're still close now. It's just the three of us. We have other cousins between, my mom's sister. My mom was a twin. Her twin passed before my mother. due to type 2 diabetes complications, as well as her youngest sister. Same thing, so many different ailments and illnesses. And, I think now one thing I do is honor my little cousin. She was 25 years old when she passed away from complications of type 2 diabetes. She was also an amputee as well. And, my little cousin who also deals with it now, she's still living, but I just recall seeing her at a young age, 7 years old, having to check her blood sugar and stuff and, having insulin. And so I really feel that where I am now and being that generational cycle breaker, I also want to be the model for what my cousins and my family need to see with that. And so that takes me to, I know I've been talking a lot here about that
No,
family
this is great. Oh my
dynamic.
gosh. I'm so glad I invited you on here, and
Yeah.
thank you for sharing all that. I know you say
Yeah.
you don't just wear that on your sleeve. You got the poker face, but oh gosh, you are such an inspiration for
Thank you.
people that come in touch with your life. So
Thank you.
you're you're pretty amazing.
Yes, thank you. And so I know, you wanted me to go into the work dynamic.
Yeah, you've done some cool stuff.
Thank you. So I know that's a lot, right? Just my upbringing and my will and the way I was raised and just my mindset. I knew again that I was meant for something greater. And being a high school dropout, this takes me to my work dynamics. A lot of people didn't know I was a high school dropout, but what I did, I got my GED. I moved forward, and I wanted better for myself because again, I was growing up and I always worked. I've been working since I was 14 years old. I had my first job at McDonald's, and I can say it now. I was like, "Hey, I'm 15," and I was like, "No, you're not 15." They found out my real age because I needed a work permit.
That's funny. My first job was Wendy's as a fry guy, and I left after 2 months. I'm like, I'm gonna go start mowing lawns or something.
I love that. But long story short, I've been working since I was 14 years old, so joining the military was something I never really thought of. And so when I was at school, I'll never forget, I was thinking about joining the Marines. I was like, whoa, I don't think that's going to be a good fit for me. So let me keep running from this recruiter that keeps coming to my school. And
You would have made a good Marine.
I think so. Sometimes I think I joined the wrong branch sometimes, but it's all good. But I am a military member. I joined the Air Force in 2008. I'm so gracious for that. That took me out of a lot of my predicament because my life at that time had started rolling downhill a little bit. I had been evicted from my home. Luckily, I had someone in place that gave me a place to stay, and I was getting ready to ship out for basic training. And I'll never forget. I told my recruiter, I do not have time to wait to for a job to come open. I'm ready to go open general. So since then I've been trucking in the military. I've held numerous roles. So my primary role in the military, I'm a healthcare administrator, so pretty much your support function of military treatment facilities or your medical groups. And I've been doing that for a few years. And with my work dynamic now, I've held so many different roles. And I can truly say that the best role I've ever had in the military was being an MTI. That's a military training instructor. I know it's equivalent to a drill instructor or a drill sergeant, but I learned a lot about myself there. And that was a very busy, very demanding job. It was challenging. I had my rough patches there, but truly the rewarding factor of that job is that it taught me a lot of humility. It also taught me some integrity, being able to speak up and say, and do the right thing, right? Make the right choices. Sometimes we don't always make the right choices, but hey, at least the ultimate goal is to get it right the first time, right? And so I learned a lot just dealing with my trainees and saw that I always had that coach mentality within me to inspire people. And my story also helped me in that environment. And so I was able to transform thousands of our civilians to become warrior airmen, is what we call them. And once the Space Force came into effect, we were starting to, train some of those recruits. And I had such an awesome time down in basic training, but I've always held very busy jobs. You can imagine I come from basic training in 2021 to now a headquarters setting. I
A
was
little
really
different.
thinking, I was like, oh, they got me. But I'm very thankful for that transition because I feel that I do have to move around and I have to use my hands and those different things to take care of the mission. And so I'm very thankful for the fast paced environment right now with me working for the Air Force Surgeon General, which is a great opportunity. I've held now one, two, three, I think it's like almost four roles within the headquarters. And that's kind of unheard of most times. But again, as you transition and you're learning and, people are seeing you, you're most likely to be sought out for certain things. And Just very thankful for that work dynamic. And there's a lot of things that I do there in the headquarters for a lot of personnel there that take care of the overall arching mission and the big Air Force at Broad, as well as our joint operations that we do have with most of our sister services and defense health agencies. So just to tie all of that in, yes, that is my family dynamic and my work dynamic. I'm a very busy woman, but I make time for things that are important for me, and I prioritize my children and also my well-being of myself.
I think it's yeah, I mean there's just a lot. We could spend a lot of time on this, but a few things. If you haven't gone through boot camp, I don't think you could appreciate what it means to be a drill instructor, drill sergeant, or whatnot as a single parent for 4 years. Like that's saying something. I mean,
Yes.
that's yeah, so like being in the military is a sacrifice, being a single parent is a sacrifice, and then you've been able to figure out how to prioritize your own health and help other people out there. It's just been yeah, that's pretty impressive. One other thing I want to share, I found that you hear the Marine Corps, military, whatever, it's such an incredible fraternity or sorority. It's like the best. It's the
Yes.
strongest one there is, and it's still cool. Like I'll be at the VA, and you run across an old timer with a Marine Corps hat or whatever, and man, I just say like Semper Fi, and then like 25 minutes later, you know. But it's so cool. But the like so many people that I've met and become friends in the military have got like just intense struggles that
Right.
they've been through, and sometimes it was they were escaping life to for a better life of their own. Sometimes they didn't have anywhere else to turn. They went in the military. Sometimes, they had family members in the military, and that's the only thing they ever dreamed of. That's kind of my whole family.
Yeah.
Lots of military members. Yeah, so I don't know. I was just thinking about that a lot
All right.
as you were talking, but it gives you the tears you down
Yeah.
and then gives you the building blocks and the foundation
Yes.
to become something great. So
Absolutely.
it
I
is pretty neat.
totally agree.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing all that. Yeah, I just appreciate you so much. So, okay, let's turn because I would tell folks the way our paths crossed is
Hmm.
because we have some common friends
Yes.
that we're working on a joint project
Hmm.
between the American Legion
Hmm.
and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So we both were honored to be, we had our own journeys
Hmm.
featured in Legion, and that was a really neat project. So why don't you talk about the lifestyle medicine portion of things, and then you shared your why, but like how do you incorporate all the pillars of lifestyle medicine? You don't have to go through each one, but that's a big that's that life.
Absolutely. I really agree with that. And thank you so much for that question because lifestyle medicine, I wasn't introduced to it until I got to the headquarters. I've never heard of it before. And I was currently working for General Bannister. She was our prior director for the medical operations. And so when I heard of Air Force lifestyle medicine, performance, well, we had the lifestyle and performance medicine working group. That's when I heard about lifestyle medicine, and I'll never forget sitting in a meeting. I heard Marianne for the first time. She was speaking, and I was like, that sounds like something I'm interested in. And I'll never forget, I got a little intimidated because I saw the link come out for a solicitation of volunteers who would like to help out with that working group. And I saw all their different titles: dietitian, physician, and I'm like, I'm neither one of these.
I
So
don't have any letters behind my name.
yeah, and so but I'm very interested in this because I have a background in personal training. I've been doing health and wellness things for a while, and I was able to get out of that whole intimidation thing. And Colonel Kill, at the time she was active duty, encouraged me to join the working group. And from there, I learned about lifestyle medicine. She gave me the history and the background on ACLM. And I was so intrigued. I was like, this is something that I can utilize. These pillars can be something that could guide me every single day. And it's like a simple reminder. And so what I always tell people with lifestyle medicine, right? We have those 6 pillars. And how do those 6 pillars help me? Because it reminds me of the comprehensive airman fitness model that we have in the Air Force, just a little bit more detailed. Because when one thing is lacking, it's going to affect somewhere, right? I'm going to realize something is going to be in balance. So how do I utilize this? And I can really say from, a personal standpoint is that my mental health has tremendously improved based off of those 6 pillars. And when I think of it, I'm like, okay, the main thing I focus on is getting my day started. My first day, I would say as soon as I get up, I have to get prayer time in. And so I feel like that connects to that spiritual side of things for myself. And, the social also connects with that too, because I can socialize as well with my sister. And, we're getting our day started. But I always take time to take care of myself when it comes to that. And then also, meditation, we talk about mindfulness and all those different things and setting the tone for my day or affirming myself. And then, the physical activity. I always tell people when we talk about physical or physical movement, right? Or just movement, period. You don't have to always get a workout in. Some days, Jolie, I get up in the morning and I go straight to my living room because that is my gym. I've been doing that since my daughters were babies. And it just helps me eliminate any excuses because I have everything already set up in my space for myself. And if I don't feel like working out, lifting weights or strength training at that time, honestly, I'm walking in place. I'm walking in place and maybe I'm listening to music. Maybe I'm getting a little dancing in to kind of, lighten the mood for the day. That's my physical movement. And, I'm finding time to do those things. And even at work, work is very busy. And so sometimes I have to remember to get up and take those small breaks. We have a walking trail inside of our headquarters. That's my time to get some more physical movement in for my day. And not running through all of them, but also nutrition has been a very big piece because I feel like nutrition has also affected the mental aspect of things for me. When I'm not eating healthy or I'm not eating properly the way I need to, I can start feeling it. I feel the fatigue. I'm going to start feeling a little hangry at work, or I'm not going to be myself. And it also affects my performance. Now I'm a little bit sluggish. I may not perform at my, that performance peak that I'm looking for at the gym. And there's different things that help me. And then also I look at that social part of it, connecting with others. That's really big for me. I'm an extrovert, so I got to have that. I got to have some type of interaction daily. And so I feel like the 6 pillars have been a guiding factor in my life. And I'll tell you one last thing how it was so crucial for me and where I felt they were so beneficial. Beneficial is when I had knee surgery back in 2023. Coming from being a person that's used to getting up, moving, not being on crutches, not being in a brace, doing things on my own, just that autonomy. When I had that knee surgery, I tell you, I was like, my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, there were some times I'm like, I'm about to cry, like I just need somebody to do this.
It's a
And so
lot.
one thing I remembered, I will never forget, I started Googling and researching workouts to do after recovering from like a knee surgery. And I was like, okay, this is what I need. And so every day I was making sure I was checking those pillars off, and I would get in my chair and I was in that living room and I was just working out, and I still was lifting weights and everything, upper body things. And, I still was able to take care of myself. I had to pull myself out of that rut because if not, it was going to be bad for me. Because again, I wasn't used to that. I had never experienced something like that. And I just felt alone. But those pillars really pulled me out of a dark moment during that time. So yeah, I can
Yeah,
definitely
I'm
say that.
so it is funny, like I'm living that right now because I've
Yeah.
still got my boot on, my air cast. Yeah, I'm a couple days away from 7 weeks out
Wow.
from some major ankle surgery. And I actually haven't been able to run for over a year. And like being out on the trails, and I never wear headphones. It's just
Mhm.
that's my time to think, it's my time to talk to
Right.
God. It's you know, s-
Right.
like I get up at 5 in the morning, and so,
Hmm.
watching the sunrise come up and hearing the
Yeah.
birds wake, and you smell these incredible smells. Like, my gosh, my day is just like so much brighter. And
Right.
like it's better for work too, because
It
like I come
is.
up with some fantastic ideas.
Absolutely.
Well, like out of the blue, your mind is just like you need that time to just let your mind wander and
Right.
decompress. It's yeah, that's amazing. I love that you were in the chair. But you know what? That's a really good point because like man, with TikTok and IG and so many things, like I think some influencers feel they need to make things like the more complicated their
Hmm.
suggestions, the smarter it makes them feel. And
Yeah.
then what it does, it intimidates the heck out of
Mhm.
a lot of people. And like there's some people I follow, PhD down in Australia,
Oh,
Jackson
wow.
Fry, that his thing is like it doesn't take hardly anything to get healthy. Like very few minutes, just walking. You know, I
Mhm.
know some folks that are exercise physiologists. They're really trying to promote this idea of exercise snacks throughout the day. You know, just
Okay.
take stairs, if you got
Yeah.
a mid-morning break, you know, do some stairs or, just walk around the building or, whatever. Like,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't take much time. Like if you got 15 minutes, like that's fantastic. Get your heart pumping and blood flowing and I mean it's really, really easy. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't be sedentary at home because you
Mhm.
don't know where to start. Like
Right.
you could get some 10-pound dumbbells at Walmart for like nothing.
Oh,
Or
yes.
you can start walking the
Mhm.
trails like you do at work. And
Yes.
community's huge. So trying to do it on your own is really tough. Like, it sounds like you've got a lot of people around you that, you're talking about the
Yes.
exercises and you're building community and, going to find a neighbor and, and ask them like, "Hey, do you want to start walking?"
Yes, absolutely.
Something. All right. No, this is good stuff. How about okay, let's talk about your eating style.
Yes.
Because it's you've tried a few different things like I have. Anybody that's
Mhm.
been on this journey for a while, you just cycle through, like you hear something, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try that. And you're, well,
Mhm.
that's
Yes.
not really for me. I'm gonna tweak it. But over the years, like I'll say the longer I've been doing this, the easier my
Mhm.
eating style has become. So share that with us if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question because, like you stated, there's been different things that I've tried. I've tried it all fat diets, intermittent fasting, and, all the different things out there. But I can truly say, and I like to start off with this, going fast doesn't last, but slow and steady keeps the momentum.
I like it.
And the reason why I say that is because when I think about my typical diet, I am a plant based, or you would call it plant forward. And so
So
with
wait a minute, let me
that,
stop. So that doesn't
yes.
mean vegetarian though. That
Right,
just
not
right?
vegetarian. Yes.
Okay.
So most people call it vegan, right? And so with that, I don't have any animal byproduct or anything that includes my products and stuff. I don't go to the extreme of like clothing and all that different stuff, right? It gets to the weeds of everything. But I definitely do my best to incorporate plant based eating strategies within my diet. And so with that, and as I talked about earlier, right, going fast doesn't last. How I got into that and slow and steady is because with my typical diet, a lot of people believe that, hey, I gotta go cold turkey and it's not gonna last for me. Now, it may work for some other people, but for me, I had to slowly transition, and that kind of helped me keep that momentum going because I went from eliminating certain meats to being a vegetarian. I was being a pescatarian, and then full on, down to being a plant based lead is what I would call it since 2016 when I started that transition. And so my typical meal, it just depends on my health goals too at that time as well, Jolly. I can truly tell people I'm not going to always eat the same every day. But when I have certain goals or certain things I'm trying to do, I do at least meal prep. So my typical morning thing would be assorted fruits. Get some bananas in, something that's going to get me pumped up and live and up in the morning. I like to start off with coconut water too. That's my go-to. So I have a refrigerator full of coconut water. And I just love the benefits because again, as we're sleeping, you're losing fluids and all of that stuff. So to like quickly hydrate, get some electrolytes in for my workout, I like to start with coconut water. And so also a plant-based protein smoothie is also my go-to for breakfast. So there's just different assortments for me. Some days it may be oatmeal or, a bowl of cereal, grain granola or something like that with mixed nuts. And typically for my lunch, I am a huge fan of mixed vegetables. I love a stir fry veggie with some type of nut in there, peanuts or cashews. And so I'm normally doing that. And I usually
You put nuts in
substitute.
your stir fries?
Yeah,
I never thought about doing that.
don't know. It's just something about it reminds me like of an Asian dish, or like a kung pao chicken or
Yeah,
something,
sure, yeah,
where it has
yeah.
like the nuts in it and stuff. That's just I just love it. And so with that, I'm normally doing like a mixed veggie or sometimes a salad would be my go-to with some tofu, and that's how I'm getting most of my protein and also some beans too. So I'll do like chickpea. Chickpea has been my favorite, so I'm always get like little chickpea snacks and those different things. As far as a typical lunch for myself would be like a mixed veggie, brown rice, or quinoa is another thing I'll go with. So I ensure like I have a mix, right? So when you look at the plate, I want to make sure it's colorful, but also having my proteins there, my carbohydrates, some healthy fats. So whether that's an avocado, just those different things to kind of mix it up because I don't eat the same every day unless, again, I'm meal prepping, I'm eating the same
Yeah.
for a particular goal. My typical dinner vary as well. The same thing that I have for lunch. I love sweet potatoes. Towards the end of the night, I'm getting a good sweet potato in, brown rice or, quinoa again. I love different plant-based meats that are sold in Whole Foods in different areas. I try not to eat too many of those, but I do go towards like, your mushroom burgers or your black bean burgers and stuff. And so that's like a typical dinner for myself. And in between, I'm always going to have like those different snacks, kale chips, chickpea chips, granola, and sometimes my protein bars as well is something that I go to because again, I have such a busy job and I'm trying to find time. And me and my daughters, we all have different diets. So I'm cooking for three people
Yeah,
with
that's
different
tough.
meals because they're not plant based. So that's just my typical. And sometimes I am intuitive with my dieting, depending on the season or that timing of what's going on with me. To understand that, hey, my body's feeling this way. I need to have more of this, and also depending on my training during the week. So that's my typical week of how I eat.
Yeah, it's funny. So, folks that aren't familiar with the phrase plant-based athlete, I've
Yes,
I've listened to a lot of podcasts of people that have done some like legit endurance or
yes,
strength
yes.
strength training. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I still absolutely love burnt meat,
Okay.
but what I've found is that I just one of my podcast guests, Dr. Jacqueline Alvin, she's director of culinary medicine at UT Southwestern. She's actually become one of our advisors, and I've learned so much from her because she's a mom with a couple of teenage kids, and she's got
Mm-hmm.
a busy life at work being a doctor and leading department and everything. She's a couple things she's mentioned. She's like it's not restrictive. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything she recommends is additive because like our bodies weren't built to lose weight. It's really important for people to understand that our
Yes,
bodies were not built to lose weight. So anything you try to take away from it, your body's going to push back. You're not going to know
yes,
it, but your body's going to push back biologically. And so when you're adding things, like try to add like one fruit, like if you don't know where to start, a
right.
couple people in the last week asked me like, where do I start? Where do I tell other people to start? Like start by like one extra fruit, one extra vegetable a day, right? Or trying to figure out like, I don't like a lot of vegetables, but I love chili. Chili
Mm-hmm.
is super easy. You can meal prep, you cut it all up and you let it go all day. And so I started trying like different vegetables to I could sneak in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't taste them, and it still tastes really good. You could put
Yes,
some like fresh fruits or raw nuts like on the kitchen island, and so if you have kids,
yes.
they come home and they're gonna reach for something. Or if you happen to have one of the neat last stories with Dr. Alban real quick. I'm a huge fan of hers, but one of the neat
Yeah.
stories is having teenagers. They have teenage friends that come over. Teenagers eat a lot, and they ask for like appetizers and stuff like that. So she's gonna do whatever you like normal, the processed foods that kids love. But she also puts out like a veggie tray with,
Mm-hmm.
and raw nuts and fresh produce of all different sorts. And she's like, they're eating some of the quote unquote unhealthier stuff, but like that veggie tray and raw nuts is all gone by the end of the night.
Wow.
And so just making healthier foods easier and being additive. So yeah, I like what
Absolutely.
you're talking about. That's good
Thank
stuff. And,
you.
and plus the other thing, sorry, I got off track there a little bit, but like you're lifting some serious weight.
Yes.
And to be able to do all that and maintain everything you do with a plant forward
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle it's possible. You just got to start experimenting, right?
Absolutely. And do you mind if I share something with
Of
that?
course. Yeah.
So, taking it back to my journey of when I lost like a total of 67 pounds, when I first started this journey after I heard of, my diagnosis and everything, I was working with a retired veteran now. He's retired Air Force, Coach B. And I was his first like ever client that was a vegan at that time years ago in Okinawa. And that was around like 2015, 2016 time frame. And he was like, I've never dealt with this before, but uh, I'm willing, right? I'm ready to play around with it. Like you said, it's like I became my own scientist at this point. I'm experimenting and he's experimenting. We're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But he got me down to literally 11% body fat.
Gosh.
Um, and I was a fast runner as well. This is all on a plant-based diet. And a lot of people say, how are you getting your protein? I'm like, hey, I'm doing my protein shakes. I'm eating my tofu. I'm doing my mixed veggies. There's so many different things I have to play around with it. I'm tracking what I'm eating, what's working and not working. But I was a catalyst to him being able to train other
That's
athletes
cool.
now because he does bodybuilding shows and he trained bodybuilder. I was doing powerlifting, all of this stuff with just that type of diet. And I would never forget running a 10K with my children in a double wide stroller out there doing a 10K. I mean, there were hills and I was able to do it. And being a first place female in a 10K, all of that, and I felt like it was just the stamina, like you stated, right? Add one more fruit, start somewhere. And it was just different things of me playing around with my diet and, work, what helped me perform better. I knew that if I was going to eat burgers and fries, I was not going to be that performing athlete that I needed to be. But I didn't deny myself of that stuff. I still had those things. But that really showed me that, oh my God, I can really outwork myself,
Yeah.
and I'm competing out here too, others who, are out here as well in this fitness realm. And it really showed me like, oh my God, I'm getting here and deadlift 250, almost 300 pounds. And people were wondering, how are you doing that? And you are vegan or plant-based, we would say. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
incredible. Do you mind sharing how old you are? I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
So I am 38. I'll be 39 next month.
Okay, all right. Very good.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good.
Started my journey at 28. I've been in the military, of course, since 2008. Seriously getting into fitness 2016. Years ago, of course, when I was 28. I would say that.
Yeah,
Getting my
being able
math
to
all wrong here.
so
2015.
you said you hit 300 pounds? You were able to lift 300
Almost,
pounds?
almost,
Okay.
almost. And so I can say my heaviest was 265
Wow.
for a deadlift. OMG, I feel like I was going to pass out because we did a competition for the strongest military instructor, and I did the female category, and I won that category. Yeah, so yeah, they went by the total of the three big lifts for the
Yeah,
powerlifting. Yeah, that right there, and with the team, because I was with a team of people that was like egging me on to do it. I don't know what came out of me, but yeah, I was able to do it.
that's so cool. What are the three big lifts you mentioned?
So we have the bench press. So you, of course, your chest press. You have the squat, right, and then also the deadlift.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you were able to throw that much kind of weight
Hmm.
around, but then you also sneaked in there that you won first place in the female group in your 10K.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. I've done a lot of different things, and that just proves to show people like, hey, it is possible as a vegan or your plant based diet to be able to still perform. And that's one thing I've been wanting to study. I know we can talk about that later when it comes to even athletes in college and, other sports that are plant based.
Yeah, sure. And, when we talked last time, you said something that was really important, and I love when people throw this in. You said involve your kids in everything, because so many people I talk to, they they say, "Oh, I don't have time to
Mm.
exercise, or I don't have time to focus on myself," which we need to work through that.
Yeah.
But if it's not about, again, it's additive. It's not about, taking something away to make time. It's about just changing your life a little bit. So it's not about you exercising by yourself, taking time away from your kids and family. The smart and easy thing is to add your family into your exercise.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I can truly say the same thing that you just talked about, right? The additive. I love that. Like, how do I bring them along, or how do I bring others along? And how do I make time? And one way is basically through experience. And I've been doing this for a very long time. And one thing I learned when I had my daughters, they were very young. They were babies at this time. And I was like, I have to work out, which is why I'm a big living room advocate. Okay. That's my gym because, that's exactly where everything happened and for me to make time and space. And my daughters were babies, and sometimes they'll be in their playpen, or I set them up in like a little play area and they're right there with me, and I give them something like, here, mommy, I'm over here, I'm working out. And sometimes I would take them to the gym. So I'm very thankful for the gyms that have the baby area.
True.
So
Yep.
they had like a mommy and me area at the gym when I was stationed at Lackland. And so I didn't have any excuse as I was transitioning, right? And so I always made it my point in time. Whenever my baby got up and I for sure knew I was just going to get this a long time, I just brought her in there with me and she's in there working out. And I was, I was making videos too. This is what kept me motivated to show other parents that they can do it is I was using my baby and we're like squatting together or I'll work around, walk around with her. I had my little, I forgot what it's called, like a little carrier.
Yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, I would just walk and I would go and I would include them every time. I was like, hey, I know that they want to play, they want to have fun. Let's go do the stairs together. And at that time, I was married, so we would do things as a family. We would bring the kids along. If they're at soccer or we're having some type of activity for them, I'm walking or, I'm out there doing little things, but I included my daughters in everything that I did. I even found little weight sets on Amazon.
That's so
It's
cute.
like this little weight bench set. I mean, it's very light. But they will mimic what I was doing and they would actually work out with me. I had my pull-up bar at my doorway. I always kept a pull-up bar so many years later. And they to this day, they'll come, let me do one pull-up. But it was something like when I go on a walk, right? It's like, hey, I want to go take a walk today. Let me take the girls, whether it's going to the park or, I'm walking around. If I have a stroller, for moms who have very small children, that was something I did. And I know sometimes we talk about it not being safe in a lot of areas, right? Depending on where you live and everything. But, I always found time to be able to include my daughters. I even bought them some little weights. I still have them to this day from Japan, and they would lift weights with me. They would come in and do, like, I would show them what I'm doing, and they'll be alongside me working out, and I'm making my mommy and me content with them. And so it was so good to see that I'm inspiring them because they kept that going as they got older. So I had no excuse. And sometimes you have to do this. Find times where you're least distracted too, right? Because it's not going to be all the time that I want the kids to come along with me or my spouse at the time. I get up now 5 a.m. just like usually 5 a.m. Sometimes I get up at 4:30 depending on my work schedule, and I know that hey, they're still asleep. That gives me time to myself, 20 to 30 minutes. And if I can, hey, do I find a gym? Now my daughters can go to the gym with me. When I was going to the YMCA in San Antonio, they had it where you can bring the kids at a certain age. They can come out to the floor with you, or they'll have the child watch area. And so, just those things right there, starting in that moment really helped me include them in everything that I was doing. So they was an additive to my journey versus me feeling like I had to sacrifice them. Any point I didn't have to sacrifice them. If I went on a 10K and it's open for everyone, I'm bringing my babies in a jogging stroller with me.
I love
So
that. That's
it's
so
just
important.
so many ways to include the children, whatever they like to do as well. My kids like to go out and play, and Dave and Buster, I'm like, hey, this is time for us to walk. They're moving, and we're getting movement in. That's my time with them set aside. I feel like there's so many different things that we can do with our children. And so if you have this passion or you're an athlete, shooting basketball, hey, let's come out to the court with me, and just including them on that journey with you because they help you. My girls motivate me. They was like, "Come on, mom, let's go. One more," And I love that it keeps me going. Now they're a little bit older. I can't do it like I can't do them like I used to when I was younger. We wake up and we would work out together. I'm like, "Hey guys, we're gonna get up before school. Let's get your day started." And we're working out together. And that's like, "Oh, mom, I just want sleep now." But when I go for walks or when I'm doing things, hey guys, let's go for a walk right now. And we do things together that's fun. And I feel like including them really helps you because it eliminates the stressors, right? And it eliminates um the excuses is what I call it. I can't make any excuse because I can bring them with me. It doesn't have to be me going to the gym or lifting weights. I could just simply move by going to take a walk or we're playing or we're doing chores together. So yeah, that's my take on that.
It really is experimenting. And just like we were talking about, like you have to figure out, like, if you're not a big vegetable eater
Yeah.
like me, like you find like I love black bean burgers. Like I
Oh,
love
yes.
burgers, but like sometimes there's a really good restaurant right down the street that has fantastic burgers, but they also have fantastic black bean burgers that
Yes.
are healthy too. And so like I'll switch off there, but you try different things and some of them taste horrible. I found a frozen all natural black bean burger that actually
Mhm.
tastes really good. Well, they had a couple other versions of like one was like red pepper and I don't know, carrots. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this is horrible. I took one bite and threw the whole package away. You don't know
Yeah.
until you try it.
Right.
The same thing is for physical activity,
Mhm.
especially I think I'm realizing it's actually easier with your kid too, because like having our girl's 27, 23, and 7, and like the little one, like being a runner, like I need
Mhm.
and being 50, like I haven't focused on flexibility and stretching. And
Mhm.
so you get some injuries and some aches and pains. I'm like, okay, well, I need to work on this. I'm like, okay, so I could either do it by myself early in the morning,
Mhm.
or we could start creating some healthy habits with my little one.
Yes.
And so we started doing like yoga and stretching like before bedtime.
Mhm.
And just as a way to like wind down, I was talking to a friend the other day. This is a great idea. I didn't don't know why about this, but he does Ironman and you really have to work on flexibility and stretching. They do it at family time, like while they're watching shows on TV. And he'll sit on the floor and do stretching and his daughter's like right there with him. And he said the neatest thing, she's gotten like so into it that she gets excited about picking their stretching routine that night. I'm like, man, like how cool that is so neat. I love that.
Yes.
You just gotta be creative.
You have to. Yep. It's all about creativity and, experimenting what works and what may not work and, just the schedule and how you're feeling too that day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we're all on a journey, but you've gotten a lot of parts of your life figured out, and you had the will to do it,
Yes, absolutely.
and not being afraid to fail.
Absolutely.
So this has been good stuff. So anything else you wanna leave us with? You're doing some neat stuff on social media, podcasts. You wanna talk about any of that stuff?
Oh, sure. I know that kind of ties into a lot as far as it comes to, my mental health, physical health, and social and networking too. And one thing I wanted to always be was not a gatekeeper. I always want to be someone who inspire or aspire to inspire other people. And I didn't want to keep all this information to myself. And I feel like I have a long journey and a tremendous story to tell to others because, again, you never know someone until you actually get to know someone, right? And I'm a true believer of that. And so, what I've done now as it relates to continuing to inspire others, I took my journey and I wanted to better myself and I wanted to get educated and I wanted to learn more about the fitness world. And so, I did become a certified fitness trainer or a personal trainer back in 2017 through ISSA. So, that's the International Sports and Sciences Association. And I've been doing that and been able to coach military members as well as my civilian counterparts through different weight loss plans and nutrition and those different things to start their journey. Because I felt like for me, I had to learn from someone, and it took for Coach B to be that person that ignited like that fire within me. And I'm like, okay, that spark is here, so let me go out and light other candles and give other people this energy. And so that's something that I'm doing now. And also, I did start my own fitness business, online virtual, through Mind and Matter Warrior Fitness. So these are things that I'm doing now to just set myself up for when I get out the military. It's like my baby. And, I'm able to work with one client right now in Japan, and I've been working with her for a while. So I'm excited for her
Wow.
journey, and we're waiting for that transformation with her. But being able to do that alongside what I do in the military to help people and to showcase, of course, how lifestyle medicine is a benefit to everybody, right? No one's exempt from this. But I feel like, these are things that I'm doing now as far as being able to get my story out there as it relates to the podcast. I did start a podcast, and it was just out of curiosity during COVID. I was like, just sitting in this house, and I told you I'm an extrovert. I have to talk to people. I need to connect. This is really hard for me. And so, how do I get my story out there? And how do I educate and talk about different topics, just off the whim to people? And I did start a podcast called Jen the Goddess Speaks. And it's just more for personal development because I feel like no matter how much professional development we have and that we obtain and all this education, taking care of ourselves personally has always been a big thing for me. And so there was one point in my life where I really had to get into my selfless season. Still taking care of others, but I had to ensure that I filled my cup first. I was no good to all the people I had to take care of in this military service, as well as my children, if I didn't pour back into me. And so my podcast has been a catalyst to that. It's been a way for me to open up and just talk about different things in life and, inspire women. And I've gotten to a point now, Jolly, of, starting to research and look at things because I'm a lot older and I'm looking at like premenopause and perimenopause on, how our weight and our health is directly tied to our hormones and different things that's going on as we age as women. And so now I'm looking into becoming a women fitness specialist through NASA. And that's something I'm currently working on so that I can keep that going. But also, a lot of these things that I'm doing on the outside, I still spread this to my counterparts in the military by taking care of our military community. And these are things that I feel that is going to continue to allow me to assist and spread, my story as much as I can. Every chance that I get, I'm talking about it and I'm speaking of it and encouraging people. And whether that's through my podcast, as whether that's through me posting on social media, even on my LinkedIn, I know it's a professional platform, but sometimes I'm posting, hey, I'm in the gym today,
Yeah.
and that's inspiring to people. And so those are the things that I'm working on, just kind of helping me set myself up for, when I leave the military to still continue to take care of our veteran population. Because as we know, it has been mentioned that our veterans are the most unhealthiest in the United States, right, compared to our civilian counterparts. And, for me, I have a big heart when it comes to that stuff and being able to take care of people as well as children with special needs and certain disabilities through adaptive sports. So there's a lot here that I'm inspiring or aspiring to do. But things that I'm doing now currently is being able to help people through my online coaching and being able to just talk and using the time, the downtime that I do have outside of the military, because I have a very busy job as a senior enlisted leader right now. And we're setting up a command from ground zero for the Air Force Medical Service. And I'm finding time to take care of myself, also take care of my children as well by involving them in sports. We're finding little ways with them. My daughter did cross country for a little while. She was like, Mom, that's not for me. And I was like, okay, but if you do this, you can do track. Come on, you got this. Let's go. She was like, okay, I'll do it if you want me to. I said, no, no, no.
No.
Do it because you want to. And she's like, okay, I don't want to do it.
It's like, I don't care what you do. Just be passionate about something. Yep.
Exactly. Be passionate. Well, those are the things right now that I'm, kind of wanted to add to this space. And one thing I do want to add to people, I want people to take away from my journey is don't wait till a diagnosis. I know sometimes that's easier said than done, right? Sometimes we do need that wake up call. Sometimes we do need those signs when it's time for us to start taking care of ourselves. But being proactive, listening to Jolly, right? This podcast, Move, Eat, Give, like these things are in place as that proactive measure for people. Take the proactive measures by joining a community. There's so many resources out there. Understanding that physical activity doesn't mean lifting weights all the time. It doesn't mean that you got to go for a run. Hey, physical movement, we want you to have some type of physical activity in there. And again, we talked about that, just simply going for a walk, simply just moving and starting somewhere. And even with nutrition, it's so many resources. I'm very thankful for a lot of the things that ACLM offers for us on the DoD side. And, just learning and connecting to the Air Force Lifestyle and Performance Medicine Working Group with all of our different physicians throughout the force that are also working with patients to spread this knowledge. And me being their enlisted champion for this, I'm like, yay, let's go.
That's so cool.
We need more people on board to
Name-
do this. And, I'm excited because I get to work with, I don't know if you know Dr. Reagan Stigman.
I was on a call with her. Yeah.
Oh,
She's
she's such a
impressive.
fireball,
Yeah.
right? She's like, I always tell her she's a force to be reckoned with. She's such a breath of fresh air, and I love speaking with her and working with her. And so, me just doing different things and getting myself out there and looking at ACLM and lifestyle medicine as something for the long term for me getting out is basically how I'm going to be able to set myself up to still continue to inspire and help others by continuing that knowledge and education, right? Because it's not going to be always given to you. We just have to get out there and find it. I feel like having this community here, how I've been able to connect with you, has been such a tremendous blessing for me. And I feel like everything's always happened for a reason, and we align with people for so many different reasons. But yeah, I just wanted to leave everybody with that and end it off with that.
I love that. As you're talking, when we talked last time, I actually wrote down something you said. You said there's never balance, but there can be harmony.
Yeah.
And you fully live and breathe that, and everything you've just covered over the last hour. And that's the goal. That's what you want to find in life. How does it all fit together? And
Absolutely.
everybody's picture is going to look totally different. And so it's how do you bring that all how do you bring everything together to make harmony so that life is
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's listening, I think it's cool because so you're in Fairfax, Virginia now, but through your
Yeah.
online virtual coaching, like
Yeah.
you're able to coach somebody in Japan. I mean, that's pretty neat. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country. If you're listening here, if you're a military member, if you're
Mhm.
a busy professional, if you're a mom, like whatever, you don't know where to start, you just need some help. Hey,
Yes.
we don't get here on our own. It
Absolutely.
takes a lot of help. You got to be willing to ask for help, and that's the only way you're gonna get better. So I'll definitely add the links for you, your virtual coaching and your podcast in
Yes.
the show notes. But Jan, it's been so fun getting to know you. I'm really glad that we connected.
I'm excited too, and I'm excited. I'm also thankful for this opportunity and getting to know you and knowing about your story as well. That has been very inspiring. So yeah, thank you so much again for this.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review the podcast on the platform of your choice so we can reach more people and more people are recommended this podcast. And if you really liked it, the single best way you can help us grow is by telling your friends. Now, for all the legal stuff. The views and opinion expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. For my day job, I'm an employee of AbbVie and appear on this podcast on my own accord and not in the professional capacity as an AbbVie employee. All viewpoints provided are my personal opinions and not intended to reflect those of my employer. If you have any questions or comments, please shoot me an email at jollie@interrupthunger.org. Let's go spread some joy, people.